There's a 107-year-old Chinese woman named Chen. Sounds common. Maybe like a, Kate or something over here. Chen. She's now become a social media star because she has an unusual facial feature. A 4-inch long horn growing out of her forehead. Some think the horn is the reason for her advanced age. They feel that it's called a longevity horn, and others think that it's just something weird on her head, like a calcium deposit or something like that. Doctors, who we should be listening to, say that it's something called a cutaneous horn, which is associated with prolonged sun exposure. I always thought, and don't yell at me for being these days racist or whatever, but I always thought that Asian people, whenever I see them on the golf course or anywhere, they're really, really sensitive about their sun exposure and their skin, and they're always wearing long sleeve shit, like 100 and something degrees, and big old hats, and maybe it's to prevent the horn from coming out. I don't know, but it's just interesting that sun exposure would do it. It says Chen is in good health, and she has no intention of removing that horn.
Kelce!
Hey, Kelce! How did you feel your brothers is back at the
Kelce, can I get a fist bump? Kelce, can I get a fist bump?
Oh my God! Yeah? Let's go!
Welcome to Stay in the Gray podcast. We explore news that gets people talking by blending comedy and controversy.
Brutal banner, fearless word, shadow streets love hurt.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Trey. Together we dive into tough topics with a combination of humor and some insight.
So join us as we navigate the gray areas of the world and engaging in real conversation.
Come get to know us.
So hey everybody, I'm back. Unfortunately, I'm back alone again. Trey is still not feeling well, and he's going to be out for a little bit, but don't worry about him. He's a resilient guy, one of the best guys I know, and he'll be just fine. Hopefully we'll see him back sooner rather than later. But for now, there's plenty to get to, plenty to talk about, and I'll do my best to keep rolling here with some very important news to share with you this evening. I'm kind of tired of the election. I think the election has caused tremendous friction. I mean, that's an understatement. Been continued to be called all kinds of shit, and I'm getting tired of it. So I've kind of scaled back to a point. Put a few personal Facebook posts because I don't want to represent the show fully because Trey is a part of that. But man, this is crazy. So maybe I just need to calm down and just let it settle. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So tonight we'll talk about some different things, still relevant and still things that I think people will be divided on. And I'm going to try and sit in the middle. I thought about it, but let's start with the headline. My headlines, usually Trey will give a headline and it's got something to discuss. Mine are just to the point and they make no sense. And usually it's a writer that probably, I would say an editor that made a mistake at a publication. And these are just kind of a list of headlines that have been released in the past in real life. This one says a man kills himself and then runs away. I'd like to know a little more about that story. But somehow that was released as a headline. And I think that besides the obvious clickbait, there's really no substance to that headline. No reality of the headline, obviously, when it comes to a literal interpretation. So I'll move on from that. I was going to do butthurt comments again, but all of them have to do with politics. So I'm just kind of going to hold off on that. You guys have given me plenty of material. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten about you if you were hoping to make them. They're all stacked up right now from politics. But again, I'm just going to take a break from that. Those of you that know me know how passionate I was and am about the country, my family, and to go through what we're going through is a tough deal. And hopefully we can get that solved. So I'm going to move right on to news. Okay. That's one thing Trey will not miss is the new segment song. I love it, so I might just play that over and over again for you. Josh Darren and his wife Keena Miller, I think I pronounced it Kima Miller, they bought a coffee shop in Opelika. Forgive me, if people in Alabama, if I'm wrong, but this was in Alabama. They bought a coffee shop. Apparently, there's a soldier ghost in this coffee shop, and he swears. Josh said he saw a soldier walking towards them, and then he disappeared. And of course, people go, that's bullshit, or some people go, we believe it. And it's a topic we haven't really talked about. And I think that Trey believes in some ghost, supernatural type stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's because I don't want to, or because I just think that it's a little far-fetched. There'd be quite a few ghosts around. But he said Darren believes that this ghost is from the Civil War. Makes sense, Alabama in the South. He said there are boot prints on the floor, and nobody wears boots at that establishment. He was so intrigued, he went and looked up the town history, and there were many soldiers lost on raids in that town, in that location exactly, for they had Confederate supply depots, and apparently there were lots of raids and deaths. He said nothing appears threatening, so they're going to go ahead and live with this ghost and deal with it. So I don't know. It brings up a whole debate on that. Kind of a fun one. So I'm going to wait till I have somebody here to talk to about it. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And I think there's supernatural is something that's interesting, and I think it's something that I don't think we have the capacity to wrap our brains around 100%, even if it existed. I think there are some things completely out of realm of what we're capable of interpreting and thinking with this little brain. Don't we use like 10% of it anyway? There's a lot more in there. Hopefully we can expand. Number 2, in Stoughton, Wisconsin, there's a public health agency, and after transporting 5 people in the same couple of hours, reporting food-borne exposure or food poisoning, the common denominator with all of them was they all had Famous Yeti's pizza. And I haven't heard of it, so I'm not sure if it's a chain or if it's just in Stoughton, Wisconsin. And I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but it wasn't like bad onions or cheese that was old or something like that. It was one of the workers, poor worker, ran out of oil, ran to an industrial kitchen nearby. And instead of grabbing normal oil that you would use, he grabbed food-grade hemp oil, which contained Delta-9 cannabis, which is THC. So usually that's what you would make, cookies or probably brownies, things like that with. But there were 60 contaminated pizzas that were delivered that night, and dozens called in with reportedly with issues with their stomachs. The restaurant closed for one day for deep cleaning. So I thought that was funny. If you get a pizza, you may get more than you ask for in that area. This one's fun. I'm gonna put a picture. I have to start putting pictures of these things up for you guys. There's a 107-year-old Chinese woman named Chen. Sounds common. Maybe like a Kate or something over here. Chen. She's now become a social media star because she has an unusual facial feature: a 4-inch long horn growing out of her forehead. Some think the horn is the reason for her advanced age. They feel that it's called a longevity horn, and others think that it's just something weird on her head, like a calcium deposit or something like that. Doctors, who we should be listening to, say that it's something called a cutaneous horn, which is associated with prolonged sun exposure. I always thought, and don't yell at me for being these days racist or whatever, but I always thought that Asian people, whenever I see them on the golf course or anywhere, they're really, really sensitive about their sun exposure and their skin, and they're always wearing long sleeve shit and like 100 and something degrees and big old hats, and maybe it's to prevent the horn from coming out. I don't know, but it's just interesting that sun exposure would do it. It says Chen is in good health, and she has no intention of removing that horn. I might consider it, but she's 107. I don't think she's looking to get on the dating apps anytime soon. Lastly, there's a story about an Argentina football club, and I say football club, not the NFL, not American football, but soccer. They are Deportivo Riestra, which is, again, Argentina. There is a YouTuber, he has 7 million followers, and his name is Ivan Buhajeruk. I wish I had Trey here to make fun of me for that accent, or for that pronunciation, but somewhere he's laughing. His nickname on YouTube is actually called Spreen. And I'm not sure what he does, but this football club, Deportivo Riestra, gave him a contract, and he was able to get out in the field in a big game. Apparently, they were playing Velez Sarsfield, who's the top tier of the table, top flight game. He played for 50 seconds, and then they pulled him out as substitution. He didn't touch the ball. Soccer's on a big-ass field, 11 players. A lot of times you play with 10 if there's a guy that gets a red card. And he got, this team got a lot of backlash. The commentators were like, "You don't even know where to stand. This is awful." Another one said, "This is shameful, a total disgrace." And then finally, there was a former Argentina footballer, soccer player, named Juan Sebastian Veron. I think he played for Chelsea and like Man U over in the Premier League. And he said this is a total lack of respect for football and footballers. I don't agree with this guy. I don't agree with these announcers. I think they need to calm down. I think if there was some sort of publicity here, some sort of stunt, to have this guy on. I mean, he's 7 million followers. I don't know what he did. I'll have to go look it up. But I've always dreamed about getting a 30-second shift in hockey, with my favorite team, or football, maybe different. And again, I know one play can make or break a game, but 50 seconds in soccer ain't going to do shit. So everyone, I think, should lay off. But again, this is a show about opinions, and if you think differently, then good for you. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to the main topic. Oh, hold on. Here's my outro for the news. I like it. Sorry, Trey. It's really my Ryan can take a drink of his cocktail button. And when I find that when I do a show by myself, I don't drink quite as much during the show. Maybe that's a good thing. So the main topic I want to talk about tonight is something that's already been done. It's already been, I think it was maybe a week ago, a little less. But it was during before the Penn State, Ohio State football game. And everybody knows who the Kelce brothers are. Everybody knows who Travis Kelce is, dating Taylor Swift. And we used to talk a lot about them and a lot about Tay-Tay. It's died off a little bit, but you still hear about it, and you still have the Swifties and all of that. But Jason Kelce, Travis's brother, through all of this, has established a following. Now, granted, he did play for the Philadelphia Eagles, so he wasn't a full unknown. He just wasn't quite, arguably, the best tight end in the NFL, whether you like or hate the guy. And the incident, and I'm going to play the video for you, but Jason Kelce, brother of Travis, was at the Penn State game there in State College, Pennsylvania, and he was walking along the stadium like everybody does, getting to the gate before the game. And of course, when you're noticed, you're occasionally going to get that jackass. Well, he definitely got it. And there was a kid, I say kid, he was in college, and had a Penn State sweatshirt on and a hoodie up. And in my opinion, that was a little bit cowardly. At least take your hoodie off if you're going to do what you did. And he started yelling at Jason and making comments about his brother and his brother's relationship. And so finally, Jason Kelce turned around and grabbed his phone and threw it on the ground and broke it. So we'll talk about that in a second. But before we do, I'm going to have the boys put the video probably right over here. So take a look, and I'm gonna watch it here and see what you think about this. It's pretty wild. Just somebody filming Jason.
Kelce.
Hey, Kelce. How does it
Kelce.
feel your brother's a faggot dating Taylor Swift?
Kelce, can I get a fist bump? Kelce, can I get a fist bump?
Yeah?
So, in case you couldn't quite hear it, I tried to get it as clear as I could. Basically, this guy, and I'm going to say the word, forgive me, anybody that's offended by the word, but that's the whole point of this. And I'm not going to sit here and play around. The guy came up and behind him, and first he wanted, fist bump, give me a fist bump, and he didn't. He said, "How does it feel to have a faggot brother who's dating Taylor Swift?" The first comment I had was, "How?" And that doesn't make any sense. That's kind of the opposite of what he is if he's dating Taylor Swift, unless there's a big secret about Taylor Swift that we don't know. But to call him that, if you heard it, and to yell at him and to make a scene when this guy's just trying to go to a football game, I don't agree with that. The question is, do you agree with Jason Kelce's response, which was to turn around, grab the phone, and throw it on the ground? Probably broke it, I assume. And he looked back at him and said, "Who's the faggot now?" Now, we've gone on and on about it, and they've gone on and on about it. The Kelce brothers have their own podcast, which I don't think is fair. I think if you're already known, you shouldn't be able to compete with the likes of us trying to grow our own without predetermined fame. But, they talked about it on their show, and of course, Travis was letting them off the hook, saying, you were defending your family. It sucks that you had to deal with it. And I completely agree. I mean, this little douchebag was way out of line. There's no reason for it. There's no reason to say it. It didn't even make any sense. The question is his phone, which is personal property, is there some sort of a line that he crossed to where all the laws are now? That's, I don't know if he can press charges on that, but is there a law that says you can't take personal property and break it? I don't know. If there was a time to do it, that's probably it. And I'm sure Jason Kelce could handle whatever litigation came his way. But I assume everybody's on my side that the kid was out of line. The question is, people are allowed to make mistakes. So there really is no question. Was Jason Kelce in the wrong? I think both were in the wrong, but I definitely get it. If somebody was behind me yelling about my family, I'd have something to say as well. And Jason said he kind of was searching in the heat of the moment for something to say back. And it just kind of came out of his mouth. And so his regret is, of course, that now instead of walking away and having that word, not being spread around to millions of people by not only him, but the kid. I mean, it's not like it's great that the kid said it either. That's his regret, is that if he walked away, it just wouldn't even be out there. And so that happened. And I think that, there is a limit. So I don't know. Anybody that thinks differently, write me and tell me. I don't feel like it's something that I don't think Jason was in the wrong. And I thought long and hard, and I couldn't come up with my decision. And I just feel like I would do something similar, or at least shout back. And as everybody knows, and one of Trey's issues with me recently is that I'll try and fire back harder, which is what I think Jason was trying to do. I'm gonna come back at you harder, whether it's physically or whether it's verbally, and make you look silly. And I think Jason tried to do that. And I don't know if he did. I didn't see the whole altercation, but I think he regrets it. And yeah, I just don't know why. I mean, what was this kid doing? I mean, what was his thought? Cool. There's Jason Kelce. I'm gonna, if you have a problem, say something to Jason about him. Why are you talking about Travis and Taylor? I don't like Taylor Swift as a person per se, but she's good looking woman, and Travis is getting that, and she wouldn't even look this kid's way probably. So, I'm not sure the motive there. Otherwise, college campus, big game, probably alcohol involved. I didn't see that in any of the stories, but I'm going to go with that. I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, but I want to bring up one thing, because these shows are shorter when it's just me. And I do want to say, I left it for the end so that if you don't want to hear this, you can turn it. But if you listen to the Joe Rogan shows, like I mentioned last time, with both President Trump and J.D. Vance, vice presidential elect, you learn a lot. It's not just about what we already know. It's not just the same echo chamber nonsense from both sides. It's actually some interesting stuff that I didn't know was going on behind the scenes. I didn't know the process. I didn't know what a funny guy. JD's a pretty funny guy. Donald, we knew, was funny in his own way, but JD was way down to earth. And so they talked about the border and this border policy bill that everybody's claiming that Trump tried to stop, even as he had no position of authority at all. But they're claiming he told Republicans to stop it, and that's not true. And if it is, the reason he did was because that bill was not it was not going to help the border. And that was the big thing. So read that bill, read what it was about. And it was about all sorts of amnesty for up to 2 million illegal immigrants. There was nothing about the wall. There was nothing about catch and release was involved. There were so many things that were wrong with the bill that go against what Donald Trump had tried to do, that they have undid immediately. And if it was put into place, he wouldn't have been able to alter it or do anything to it as time went along because of the way that it was written. And so he basically said, nope, this isn't what it is. So a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. A lot of people don't read the fine print, know the fine print, take their time to go research the fine print. And I was fascinated. I know J.D. Vance is the one saying it, but, he's on a show, it's recorded. I doubt he's giving complete misinformation. And that was what he got so angry in the debate about when they tried to fact check him. He was like, this is true. You can't call me out on this. So I looked it up, and everything he said is true about that bill. So go look it up if that's a big issue that upset you, was Kamala and Joe Biden are trying to help at the border. Well, not really. And they got into the discussion about why would they want illegal immigrants here. And there were a couple of reasons. One was cheap labor, and the other was for voting. And then you get into, why are these people being dropped in swing states? Why are these people being, he said he was at a convention, and one guy flat out admitted that now he's going to have to pay American workers more because he can't pay them under the table. Things like this. And if any of that's true, it just needs to be looked at. It needs to be talked about. It's one of the reasons that we say taking away jobs. Donald was completely misquoted in saying taking away, black jobs. What he was saying was taking away jobs from black people. Black unemployment was a lot higher now and lower under his term. And that's one of the reasons. There aren't specific jobs for black people. To spin it like that is just so silly. It's getting silly. The hate being spewed is from the losing side. It's incredible. You need to understand. If I hear one more thing about Hitler, which is the opposite of what Trump is, like literally the opposite of what Trump is, I'm gonna lose it. If I hear one more saying that Trump voters voted for hate. The hate's coming from you guys. It is. I don't hate any of you. I don't hate anything that's going on. If Kamala had somehow won, I don't hate. I might think she's adult. I might think she's going to do a poor job in this country, and I might think that everybody's priorities are a little out of whack. But I'm not going to hate. I'm not going to sit here and hate. I'm not going to call her all these things. I mean, she's the one using fascist tactics. So I talked about this. I'm not going to get. This is what I do. So I'm passionate. But what I wanted to bring up about the border that J.D. Vance was talking about on Joe Rogan was there's a map, and I've seen it, and you might have seen it being thrown around on social media, and it is literally all of the states that Kamala won. You've heard me talking about this before, where there are states that do not require proof of citizenship to get an ID or voter ID, and the ones that don't require it, Kamala won. The ones that do require it, Donald Trump won handily. Go look it up. I'm not fucking lying. I'm not sitting here giving you bullshit. I mean, I've seen it. I've researched it. It's in the laws, and it's a huge problem. And anybody that would sit here, not to steal our colleague Joe Rogan, his thoughts, but anybody that sits there and thinks that this is okay, that non-citizens, that citizens that are not legal in this country should be able to have a say equally to what citizens have to say about our government at any level is absurd. And for the side that wants to sit here and say that Donald Trump voters are the ones un-American and the Donald Trump voters are against democracy, it's a little bit silly when you are in favor of illegal votes. And one more quick fact, and then I'll wrap this part of it up. Virginia, the governor, I believe, is in charge of this, basically found out that it was 2 million. There were 2 million, it might have been a little bit less, but 2 million voters on the voter roll that, when asked, basically admitted, which I'm not sure why they would, unless they were afraid of being caught, and then the punishment would be worse, but admitted that they weren't citizens, but they were on the voter roll. So the governor said, you're off the voter rolls. And Kamala Harris is trying to sue whoever's in charge, to get him back on. If that doesn't say something right there, I don't know what does. These aren't made up stories. These are things you just don't hear. These are things that MSNBC is not going to throw at you. Even Fox probably ain't going to throw this at you. You need to dig a little deep. You need to find these things out. Sometimes you have to go to actual government, state government sites, things like this as you hear them. Or be willing to listen. Be willing to listen to somebody like myself, somebody like-minded or isn't like-minded, and just say, you know what? Wow, that sucks. I can do it. I'll do it right now. How about this? I do not agree that there should be nationwide abortion ban. According to liberals, anybody that voted for Trump does think there should be a ban, and that's just not true. There are a lot of issues that I used to lean left on. Right now, the woke progressive left is not the same left that I grew up learning about. So I can't think of a thing I align with. The biggest issue one of the biggest things I have a problem with is that people are telling me they're the party of, the gay, lesbian, trans, group. And to say that, I don't know. I mean, it's silly. Is it, if we talk about men and women's sports, is that a bad thing to talk about? Is it bad to not want my children who are 6 and 7 who don't know what they want to be for fucking Halloween to make the decision to start puberty blockers, to start hormone therapy when they're 11, 12 years old? Yeah, I have a problem with that. Do I have a problem with the transgender person when they're an adult? Absolutely not. Be happy. I want people to be happy. There's no hate, but there are issues. There are gray areas in these discussions. So to say that the left is the party of the gays, the party of of transgender people is just incorrect, because I haven't, besides the extremist, which both sides have on the right, that might have a problem with it due to religion or something like that. Everybody that I know that voted for Donald Trump, are we still talking about being gay as being unusual? It's just not. It's not. The trans thing is a little bit newer, and as we move forward, we'll talk about it and try to make sure we do the right thing and not sacrifice everybody else's comfort, everybody else's rights, just for the point zero whatever percentage of the country. We can do it. I know we can come together and figure this thing out, people. And anybody that's transgender, I'd love to have you on the show. I want to hear about your experiences, if you're willing to share them and if you're comfortable. But that was the thing about the border, and I just wanted to mention that those states is very interesting, and there's got to be a reason for it, and it's something that should be looked at. People say that Donald's going to be on a mission to go and lock everybody up. Well, no, he's just going to be on a mission to investigate things that have been shady for a long time. He is going to blow up the establishment, and the establishment is our federal government that includes both Republicans and Democrats. I think I've said all this before, and they're terrified. He's going to release a lot of stuff. He's going to expose a lot of stuff, and I think that's why there's a lot of people right now, and there's a movement. And he won the popular vote, and if you take out possibly legal votes, he won by a large margin. So everybody chill out, let him do it. Let's just see what happens. I said it in 2016, and things were going great until COVID hit. You can't deny it. You can't deny where we were as a country in the world. No wars, peaceful discussion between our enemies, which is called diplomacy, which people think means that Donald likes them and wants to be their best friend, which is not true when it comes to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. So on to there tonight with that. And like I said, let's just see what happens. That was my political talk for the evening. Fortunately, it was only about 5 to 10 minutes, hopefully. And hope you enjoyed the rest with the news stories and the Kelce issue. I'm going to see what happens if that's even... I haven't heard a lot about it on the regular media, so we'll see what happens there. I'm going to give you an end quote tonight and move on. I have a trip. I'll be out in California for a couple days. I won't wear my any Trump gear, don't worry. But although that's getting redder as we speak, if that's the right way to say it, more red or redder as a whole. But I'm out there for a couple days for work functions and my wife's work functions. And I will be monitoring this and social media just the same out there. But before I go, I'll remind you, click on Spotify, click on YouTube, any subscription, any follow, anything at all, a repost on Twitter. It helps us grow. And I would love to talk to anybody that disagrees. Leave a message on there. Leave something on one of the social medias. I will reach out. If you are interested in doing some sort of a Zoom, if you are completely against anything that I'm saying and you really think you have something to add, I'll listen. So do that. But I'll be gone for a couple days, and the show will be released coming up here Friday. And hope you enjoy some of the solo stuff that I'm doing. And we'll see as we go along how the show works and when we can get back to normal. And we'll go from there. I'm going to give you an end quote tonight. I think I did the other night. This is a little more basic, but I like it. And I think that it's very something to think about. And I like that. It's like, to me, it's like art. I could look at a piece of art and just kind of interpret it. And what is this? What did this person mean by doing this? And this sentence is kind of like that. The quote goes, "Ambition is putting a ladder against the sky." And that's it. Ambition is putting a ladder against the sky. To me, that's pretty cool. Basic analysis would be, climb your way to your goals, climb your way up. It could be religious. This is your path to heaven. Make it good. But either way, love you guys, and any support you give. We'll be having some guests on pretty soon. And if you haven't listened to Liv's show yet, or Drew's show yet, who was Liv helped us. We helped her expose the cult that abused her as a child. And Drew started his own security business and is a security officer for a school, which gets my 100% admiration. So go back and check out those shows and some of the shows pre-debate with Trey and myself, and enjoy those while this is going on. And we'll see you next time. I love you guys.